Hello everybody, Infinite Shinjo here, and welcome to another episode of Shinjo Reviews. And today I am here to review Fire Force Season 2. So honestly, I wasn't going to record a review on the second season of Fire Force initially, but since I recorded a reaction and posted it to the first season, which I'll link in the description, I figure I might as well record a reaction to the second season. Because honestly, the second season worked on a lot of issues that I had in the first one. So let's get started. So the first thing that I liked, and really the biggest factor in me wanting to record this, is Tamaki's development. Oh, but by the way, before I get too far into this, there are going to be obviously spoilers in this. Just a fair warning. So the two biggest parts that I can say from this is Juggernaut and Tamaki. Like the whole thing of Juggernaut giving his all to protect Tamaki and her feeling weak enough that she can't protect him, and that development of her actually training, and especially the backstory with her, made me feel sorry for her, honestly. Now with the first season, I was just kind of mid with Tamaki because she's just kind of there, and her only real purpose is fan service. But with this season, she actually did something. She actually trained. And what's crazy is I was watching maybe like the last 3 episodes all in a row. Basically the arc where Shinra, Arthur, and Tamaki go to train at the very end of the show. And after Tamaki gets that cat face, fire mask thing, or whatever it's called, I think it actually has a name, but I don't know what it's actually called. After I watched the next episode, I realized in the OP, they actually foreshadowed it. Like the scene where she's crouched up to Shinra and then she turns around. It turns around and shows half of her face with the cat mask. And that's just cool because I didn't even notice that at first. That's just cool foreshadowing. But I can't only talk about Tamaki. Juggernaut was a big part in that as well. Juggernaut's from the second Fire Force. That makes sense because those two go together to go down in the Nether in the end of the series. But like his whole arc, at first it's just like, okay, he likes Tamaki, haha, it's funny. But like the fact that he literally gives his all to defend her, and he's just a sweet boy at the end of the day. He's just a sweet little cinnamon roll. The fact that Juggernaut was the Kickstarter that gave Tamaki her development was really cool. And even to a minor extent, Iris. Now, she doesn't really do as much fighting-wise because she really can't. But the episode that her and Shinra go to the temple to worship the tools or whatever, something like that. That whole thing with Shinra and Iris feeling more like a brother-sister sort of relationship in a way. Where it's just like, hey Iris, if you have any problems, come to me. It just was kind of sweet. I mean, in a way, I feel like they're still obviously trying to push those two together as the one true ship, but like, it's just cool. It's just a nice heartwarming moment. And Maki. I don't keep it a secret on this channel that I really like Maki as a character. She's cool, she can fight, and she's just got a fun personality. And to be fair, I wasn't the biggest fan of her leaving before they went into the Nether. I don't know why I said the Nether with an accent, but here we are. But I appreciated the arc that her brother went through to accept the line of work that she's in. Although it's kind of weird that it's her brother instead of her parents, but I don't know. Maybe there was something where her brother was the most skeptical about the Fire Force, which, if that's the case, that makes sense. The next thing that I liked was that this series was kind of divided up into little arcs. Like, they had the arc where they went with... Oh, I can't remember his actual name in the show. He's... Zeno Robertson is the English dub voice actor. The same one that does Go in Pokemon Journeys. I'll look up his name and post it on the screen. But, like, I liked when the Fire Force went with him and Juggernaut to that place with the talking animals or something like that, and they all went crazy from the gas or whatever. It makes more sense when you watch the show, trust me. But they spent a couple of episodes there, go back to where they are. Then they spent a couple of episodes in that special base where they feel like they're beating up the kids or whatever, and they have the Grim Reaper looking dude and, what's his name? That kid that was in the first season with the spiders, with that guy with the crazy hair and the stars and stuff. Then they spent a couple of episodes in the Nether. And then they spent a couple of episodes training. Basically what I'm getting behind is I like how it was divided up into little arcs where they spent multiple episodes in one place. That way it's not as much to keep up with because it's not like they're going from one place to the next in between 2 episodes. And the last thing that I liked was Dr. Giovanni actually being involved, because he was kind of there in the first season. He was obviously lined up with the Evangelist. I think it's the Evangelist. I'll get to that part later. But I like how Dr. Giovanni was built up in the first season and then fuses with those insects or whatever and fights Arthur and Shinra. Still don't like that he fused with the insects, but that's just my personal bias. I just don't like insects. But that's all the big stuff that I have for the pros. Overall, I feel like the biggest issue that I had in the first season was that they didn't do much with the females. But this season actually gave each one of them decent development. Obviously, I feel like Iris was the one that lacked the most because Tamaki and Maki just got loads of development in comparison. But at the same time, with a character like Iris that doesn't actually fight, it's kind of hard to do it at the same time. Now, before I get into the cons, there are some things that I'm still a little bit fuzzy on. And I wasn't sure whether to include it in a pro or a con. But, like, overall, I'm still not sure about, like, I mean, I know the Fire Force is the good guys. But I think that the Evangelists are the bad guys. I can't remember. I feel like there's a lot of religious imagery in this show that just kind of goes over my head. And a lot of technical stuff with, like, Adola bursts and stuff. Now, I mean, I get the general grasp of it, but there are just some things where it's just like, okay, interesting. I mean, they explain parts of the backstory at the start of every episode, so it's not that much for me to keep up with. But at the same time, it's, like I said, a lot of religious imagery that probably just goes over my head. Now, for the stuff that I didn't like, the first thing, now, this is probably going to be a dumb thing, but I'm including it first anyway. I don't really remember what happened at the start of the season. It might be just because the second half was just so good that it overpowered, or it might have been that it's been a lot longer since I watched the start of the show. I mean, I remember that Inca was introduced as a pillar, but like that's really the only thing that I remember. At the same time, that's not really an issue with the show itself. It's probably just because it's been a lot longer since I watched the start of the show. And the next biggest thing that I didn't like was that it left a lot of things open-ended. I mean, I get that they want to leave things open-ended for a possible third season. I don't know if that's actually revealed. I know Shield Hero got 2 seasons revealed back-to-back. But I don't think Fire Force has been revealed for a third season yet. But, like, there's a lot of stuff that was just kind of open-ended. Like, for example, Shinra's brother, I think his name is Sho. Is he, like, a puppet at this point? Because at the very end of the show, it seemed like he was being controlled or something. And Haumia? I don't know how to pronounce her name. The one with the crown at the very top next to Joker. Is she, like, the big mastermind behind everything? Because she seems like the chaotic person in the group, compared to everybody else. I mean, that one dude actually helped Shinra at one point. So I'm fully expecting that Haumia is gonna be revealed to be the big mastermind behind everything. But there isn't much else negative that I can say about the show at this point. I could say maybe dumb down the plot a little bit for my pea brain to understand it. But I think the other nitpick that I could include is maybe give something else for Iris to do. And maybe change Tamaki's character a little bit. I mean, like, the development she got is absolutely great. But like, the whole thing with her just losing her clothes is getting old at this point. And I get it, for a show perspective, they want to have some character like that do that for fan service purposes. But they don't really need that in the show. Honestly, it would probably be a better show if they didn't do it. But at the same time, there are still people that like Tamaki as a character. Not sure if that's the reason why, but regardless. I feel like there might be some people that either read ahead in the manga to this part and that's why they claim Tamaki is their favorite character, or they just might like Tamaki because of other reasons that I'm not going to get into. But that is my review of Fire Force Season 2. I would say overall, it definitely improved on the things that I mentioned in the Season 1 review. And I think on my MAU, I put the first season at a 7 out of 10. This went to an 8 out of 10. Mainly for the development and fixing things that I had issues with at the first season. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this review, let me know down in the comment section as well. And I will see you in the next episode. Momentai.